folks, it is Virginia with Satsuma Diaries. I hope you're doing great and you're enjoying your December so far. I thought it would be a good idea to have a quick little talk on several ways to navigate the holidays, which are so busy and overwhelming sometimes as an empath, and a couple of ways to infuse this time of year with a little bit more mysticism. So a couple of tips for you. The first one is practicing good energy hygiene. I think this is something that we should be doing all year round, but especially when things get really busy and speed up, I think it's really important to keep these practices as a part of your daily routine. So a few things to mention with energy hygiene is, do you shield when you go into crowded locations? I haven't historically done this a ton, but I've started doing it this year as someone who, now that the pandemic's kind of waning a little bit and we're getting back to these large crowds and public spaces, I've been kind of setting, this is a thing I do for meditation, but it works just as well when you're going into a mall or into a crowded workspace or a school setting, is just envisioning a white globe of holy light around you. I use Archangel Michael's energies and protective force around me. That's what I envision around me, is that white holy light. But use whatever energy or spirit works for you. But I think white holy light and encircling yourself with that when you go into these large crowded spaces can really kind of cut the noise psychically for us empaths. I have another video actually around being an empath and kind of navigating the world and what it feels like to get overwhelmed as an empath. So definitely check that video out. It'll be in the description box below for you. Another energy hygiene hack is salt baths. Holy water is salt water for a reason. It's infused with intention as well and prayer. But salt baths are a big deal for the empath, for just keeping a clear energetic system. Salt water can be used to clean yourself, your aura, but also your space. So I think having that like once a week could be a really good practice of self-care and just using good energy hygiene. Run yourself a bath and pray over it. Set intentions that you'll be releasing any attachments or agreements or corded relationships, corded experiences from the day or the week when you get into that bath water. So that can really serve you well. And then I would say like some Epsom salt, maybe a half a cup to a cup in the bath with any herbs you like lavender, or I'm trying to think of what else I might like, rosemary, eucalyptus, that kind of thing. So that can be a good thing. And then secondly, I thought I would mention this because I picked this up for myself, is really using incense for clearing. Energy clearing can be a real help. I found some myrrh recently. I don't know if you can see that, but pure myrrh resin and then pure frankincense resin. These can be really powerful energies to use smoke ritual with, and they're from actual plants, so the resin is really the purest way to go. But I think I have this other, I have some vetiver oil as well, and I just have a little roller of it that I can smell, or I'll just put it on my wrist, and it's a really universally clearing plant spirit as well. So definitely give those a try this time of year. Another tip that you can use to help sort of navigate this busy time of the year is saying no with using healthy boundaries and having a really healthy no ready when you get invited to 100 things a week. And as empaths, we can really, because we're so beautifully trained to be sensitive to the environment and others around us, whether that's like plants or animals, landscapes, or people or loved ones, we can really feel when we disappoint others, when we say no. So there can be a reticence to say no. There can be real challenges with letting folks down. And so having a mantra ready when you start to feel the ickies when you say no would be a really healthy protocol. So an affirmation or a mantra that works for me could be, saying no is a really high form of love, or taking care of myself is a high form of love. And so kind of retraining yourself via mantra or affirmation to really integrate that saying no does not mean that you're not loving. It's a different kind of form of love. It's a way of loving yourself, right? As an empath, to be able to discern what's not for you and what is for you. So saying no is actually a loving practice, and using mantra to remind yourself of that when those difficult emotions come up, when you're letting folks down, or if they're disappointed that you're not going to be coming to their dinner or whatever, is a really good habit to use this time of year. And then lastly, definitely use your planner or your schedule to your advantage this time of year. So I have a planner and I don't stick to it rigidly because I feel like that takes from me more than it gives to me. But this time of year, when things get really busy, what I'll do is I will schedule out time for myself. I'll actually write it out. And so if I do get an invite in the evening, for the evening or the weekend or whatever, I know what my priorities are ahead of time. So I'm not going to say no to everything, but I'm probably going to pick 2 things for the weekend, tops, in terms of social activities like dinner or coffee or breakfast or whatever. And I'll limit it at 2. And so having that kind of tracked in your planner and that sort of structure nailed down ahead of time helps you kind of navigate, because you'll get more than 2 invites, I assure you, this time of year. So definitely like having your limits kind of thought out ahead of time is really good for your decision making on the spot. And then also writing in the self-care in your planner is, I mean, I know we don't always we typically write on the planner like our external events, but what about, the time you need for your joy practice or your journaling practice, or the time you need to cook a healthy meal for the week, like meal prep on Sunday. Make sure that you're writing that stuff in your planner ahead of time so that you have something to fall back on when you say no. You can say, actually, that time's not available this week, and that gives you a little bit, it can just make things a little easier on the spot for you. And then second, the last thing that I'll lead you with is a reminder to, now that you've created all this space in your life with protection and energy hygiene and boundaries and a really healthy form of no, you have more space in your life to really connect to the healing and the magical energies of this season. And so do take some time and make some space for connecting to the winter season and tuning into the seasonality of this time of year. I know that we're all practicing different. All our practices look different. So you may be a Christian, you may be practicing the Jewish tradition, you may be pagan, and it doesn't matter. Whatever your practice is, taking time to really acknowledge the symbols of winter and the archetypes, the universal archetypes of winter, can be a really nourishing practice this time of year. So a couple of things to just be mindful of. Winter solstice is December 22, and so solstice eve or Yule eve is December 21, and that's when a lot of folks are celebrating they're kind of like witnessing the darkness, the powers of darkness that really see their peak on Yule, and then celebrating the return of the light and the return of the sun on Yule. And so the winter solstice is the longest night of the year, and then that kind of marks the return of the sun. And for a lot of ancient pagan communities, this was really like the New Year celebration. It was the wheel of the year. I think Yule is actually a Norse term that means wheel, and it was considered the turning time, which is just a way to say that the gods would, turn the wheel of the year, and it was starting over, and the agricultural season could begin anew. So, there's lots of ways to celebrate the return of the sun and the return of light. And you could light a candle or a ritual fire around Yule or around Christmas, whatever holiday you acknowledge. You could meditate. Actually, here's a good one. You could meditate on the archetype of the magical child around this time of the year. I'm coming from an esoteric Christianity kind of background, and but I think there's a lot of spiritual traditions that have the same sort of archetype of the magical child and the virgin birth around this time. So this will be a good time to tune into that in meditation and journey with that if you like. There, you could also, if you're interested, journey with the spirit of Yeshua, or Jesus as the Christians know him. And coming from my background, that's what I've done around this time of the year, and it can be a really potent meditation, and there's a lot of healing there available if you're interested. Also, since we're feasting, on Yule and Christmas to celebrate the return of light, the return of the sun, definitely use intention, infuse your food with intention and magic as you're cooking for your loved ones and for yourself. With tea, I'll infuse an intention of like peace and enlightenment. You could use intentions around vitality and health with your soups, with your broths, and like with cookies and sweet things, you could infuse them with intentions of joy and happiness and childlike wonder, magic, whatever you like. But you can really bring a higher degree of intentionality to a lot of the festivities that we typically know in the mundane holiday ceremonies. So definitely be mindful of that. And the last thing I'll say is, with the celebration and the feasting that happens on Christmas or the holidays, one thing that we've gotten away from in modern society is the fasting and the Lenten period before that big feast. So I think it could be a real way to deepen the spirituality of the season is by going into a short little fast or some kind of Lent that is meaningful to you, some sacrifice that you make so that you really can kind of make space for the spiritual realizations of this time of the year, for the magic and the mystical experiences that really underpin the winter. You will be able to sense those more readily if you sort of turn down the noise, which is the whole point of a fast or a Lent. And it can be really hard to go into a fast or a Lent when there's like a month long of parties, right? So really holding space for some kind of fast and going out of your way to do that will really heighten your sensitivity when you're trying to make contact with the spirit of Yule, with the spirit of the return of the light, with these archetypes that are so potent and magical and nourishing. So I hope these tips help you this month and this time of year. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel because it helps my work. And I will see you in the next one. Have a great holiday season.